So I'm back on and live. I don't know if anybody's going to hop back in here. I just had a technical difficulty when it comes to my internet. I don't know what the heck happened. Why my internet just tripped some balls, but it did. So I just decided to hop back in here for a second and finish my train of thought before I dip out of here. You know, I've got one or two more sips here. I thought maybe the stream could correct itself, but no. My internet was fine, but it didn't just like reload. I had to end the stream and start a new one, which is really annoying. So sorry about that, homies. I decided not to monetize this one. I will probably delete it after it gets posted, but um, I'm pretty sure Matt just mentioned this jerkbait before I got cut off, and I was going to talk about it. In terms of affordability, a good new jerkbait on the market is the Strike King KVD. I always say KVD. I don't know if it is, but the Strike King J100 jerkbait. So this one is essentially the same size as the Lucky Craft Pointer 78. Same size, but it's a slimmer body. And yeah, it's a decent bait. I really like the 300 size of the KVD jerkbaits. Holy. I don't love the hardware that comes stock on these things. So I do switch them out. On this, I've got a triple grip on the front and a hand-tied Owner ST36 rear treble on it. But what I've found with these Kvd-100 jerkbaits is that they are floating. They're supposed to be suspending jerkbaits, and yet they do float. So, you upsize the hooks, and the problem's not quite as bad. But really, what I've done with a couple of these baits that I have is add suspend dots or suspend strips to the belly and start to play with that float rate on these baits. So either way, these baits I think retail at like seven, maybe $8 are a pretty reasonable deal. At least worth looking into. But otherwise, I would look at like the dual hardcore baits, right? Like I just mentioned, that 95 size has 3 hooks on it. So, Anthony, the only thing that you missed is me talking about this Kvd-100 jerkbait. That I think it's a good deal, right? It's a new bait on the market in the last year. Until now, or until recently, they only had the 200 and the 300 out. The 200 is like that 100 size jerkbait, 100 millimeters, 4 inches, has 2 hooks on it. And the 300 is like a 5-inch jerkbait, more like a 110 size, maybe 120, and has 3 hooks on it. But the Kvd-100 jerkbait is like an 80 millimeter size jerkbait. This is the Lucky Craft Pointer 78 right next to the Kvd-100 jerkbait. So very comparable in size. This is a little bit skinnier, but it floats, whereas the Pointer 78 is going to suspend a little bit more true. The Kvd-100 is going to float. So it's a good bait for shallow water, and it's a good bait for imitating small bait fish, and it's cheap, right? So for half of the price that you can get a Pointer 78, you can get one of these Kvd-100 jerkbaits. So the only other thing that I was going to mention is that I do think that these dual hardcore baits are definitely worth a look, because for whatever reason they have not marketed, not sold extremely well in the US since making their way here, and they're awesome baits for the money. So kind of like Yozuri and owned by the same parent company, these dual hardcore baits, you get JDM quality. These baits are made in Japan, but at a very reasonable price. So these things retail at $10 a bait, and you can often find them on sale for cheaper. So here's the 110 size, here's the 95 size, here's the 70 size. Little guy. Obviously the 70's only got 2 hooks. The 95 has 3, and the 110 has 3. So personally, I like that 95 size the best, but 70 size is a sleeper bait as a multi-species bait. So what's up, Justin? Your internet's doing absolutely terrible today. Weather's crap too. Thought you'd drop in and say hi real quick. No problem, man. Yeah, my internet's been bad. It just tripped out 10 minutes ago. I've been streaming for an hour and a half, and yeah, man, I don't know what happened, but I hadn't quite finished my train of thought or this stream, so I thought I would hop in and finish real quick. Yeah, Anthony, check it out, man. Dual hardcore minnow flat 95 SP. You can get them for like $7 or $8 on Discount Tackle, man. Or if you want to buy them elsewhere, they're $10. But a lot of places have them on sale, including Discount Tackle most of the time. Matt wants to try those Shimano jerkbaits coming out. Shimano makes great baits, especially saltwater lures. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so 2 baits and techniques that are not in this 3600 size box, because these are all hard baits, right? Obviously. And they're reasonably sized to where they can fit in that 3600 size box. So there are some outliers, but 2 that I want to mention are the chatterbait. I do throw a chatterbait year round. I throw it from early spring to late fall. I just always love it. You know, a swim jig is essentially going to work most of the time, but I prefer to go a little bit more aggressive and throw the chatterbait. So this time of year, when fish are feeding on shad, I will throw white more frequently. I will throw variations of shad. For whatever reason, the white and chartreuse has not done quite as well for me, but something in the color pattern of like a green pumpkin shad works really well. And even like a clear water shad and a couple of those other color patterns. So I will throw a white jackhammer chatterbait a lot this time of year. Whereas a month ago, I was throwing a black and blue. Prior to that, I was throwing green pumpkin and throwing green pumpkin shad and Beehive Delight. I like to mix up the colors. Early spring, I will throw a high tot craw or a fire craw as well. Interesting that you didn't get the notification, Justin. No problem, dude. Of course, you could watch the replay anytime later, man. So the other technique that I want to mention before I dip out of here is swim baits, both hard and soft. So the hard bait that I told you guys last week is one of my favorite hard baits. 1, because it's affordable, and 2, because it's versatile, is the Spro Bbz1 slow sink 6-inch shad. This has a little bit more of a what would we call it? A trout profile or body, but it's got two segments, two joints, three segments, and it has a natural swim to it. These joints do make some noise as it swims through the water. If you burn this thing fast, it will swim on top or even wake a little bit. If you let it sink, it will sink not quite 1 foot per second, but close to it. So you can let this thing sink and count it down and fish it as deep as you want. And it has a very methodical, natural swim. Very good bait. So this guy retails at like 20 bucks. Super reasonable for a hard plastic swim bait. So throw that in a shad pattern. I think they call this blueback herring even. And then a soft plastic swim bait is going to be the Megabass Mag Draft. Anthony says, no spinner baits. Haha, love spinner baits. Yeah, honestly, I have a love-hate relationship with spinner baits, and I tend to hate them more than I love them. So I throw underspins a lot. I didn't mention soft plastic swim baits until right now, and this kind of counts as me covering that topic. So here is the whiteback shad color of the Mag Draft in the 6-inch. This is the original that has the magnet in it and the treble hook off the bottom of the bait. So this guy just has the treble that attaches to the belly via magnet. But as it's swimming, oftentimes this magnet is not strong enough to hold the treble and it will come loose. So one thing that you need to do is rotate the treble and shove one of the hook points up into the bait so that there's just 2 points available here instead of, say, letting it stick like it wants to and there being 1 point available. So you can do that and make it actually stay inside the bait significantly easier without coming out. You can kind of tuck it into the bait. So this guy's a little bit better for fishing in open water or where you know you're a lot less likely to get hung up. But if you're fishing around cover where you know you're a little bit more likely to get hung up, then I go to the Mag Draft Freestyle and I will throw a belly weighted swim bait hook, oftentimes with an underspin blade on it, like this Trocar swim blade. So this is a 5/0 hook, and in my opinion, has enough bite on it. This Trocar swim blade has a lot more gap than like the Owner Flashy Swimmer does. So a 5/0 here is as effective or more than the 6/0, the Flashy Swimmer, in my opinion. So yeah, this here comes my version of a spinner bait is throwing a soft plastic swim bait on an underspin. Now, of course, I will downsize and throw a 3.8-inch swim bait on an exposed jig head with an underspin on it. I will do that as well, but I just wanted to mention swim baits, specifically 6-inch swim baits, hard and soft, as baits that I will be throwing a fair amount this fall. So Justin, I showed you up close. I'll mention it one more time. This is the Spro Bbz1 Jr. So it's the 6-inch version of the BBZ1 swim bait. I think the original version was 8 inches. They made a 10-inch version and they make this 6-inch version. They're all the same bait and have the same action. Our 3-piece multi-jointed swim baits. They come with Gamakatsu hooks on them stock. And yeah, it's a hard body with a soft plastic attachable tail that clicks into place. So you can replace these tails. And yeah, really versatile bait. This is the slow sink version. So they do make a floating, a slow sink, and a fast sink, which all have their own purpose. The floating is really a top water, a wake bait, a dead sticking type of bait. And the fast sink is more of a count it down and fish it deeper and fish it faster through the water column. Whereas this slow sink is one that you can work in a lot of different ways. You can fish it quickly shortly after it touches down, and you can fish it more like a wake bait. Or you can count it down and you can fish it more methodically throughout the water column with that very natural swimming action, and occasionally pop it and work it like you would a glide bait, and this thing will turn around. So the BBZ1 is an awesome budget swim bait for sure. Check it out, dude. The Z-Man Power Finesse spinner bait. Interesting. Yeah, Anthony, the mag draft is definitely worth getting. I've got a bunch of them in the regular and the freestyle. But what I love about the freestyle is that you get 2 to a package versus 1 for the same price tag. So you can rig them however you want, you know. And what you could do with the original is you're not going to have the magnet system because that's a little bit more complicated. But what you can do fairly easily is rig it line through. And that is something that I would recommend doing, is that you hollow out a section in the bait and put a treble hook there. And that way you remove the leverage that a fish has. Now a mag draft does have that because the magnet system is built on a swivel. So this thing swivels once you get a fish hooked. They do not have the leverage. But these baits are 12 bucks a pop, and you will occasionally get them hung up. So, you know, it comes with the territory. 12 bucks is not that crazy though when you think about it. You know, to pay more than half that for a dark sleeper is kind of crazy, because I do think the mag draft has a lot of drawing power and is a much more effective bait than, say, the dark sleeper. Now, that's just my opinion. The dark sleeper is a good bait, depending on who you are, where you fish, but you're going to lose more dark sleepers than you are mag drafts. So keep that in mind. Yeah, freestyle is awesome, especially when you can rig it like so on a owner beast or on a weedless underspin. Or if you even want, you can cut off the head just at the eyes, and you can throw this on a big exposed jig head. Like, I'm not going to do it right now, but for example, you could use this 6 cents Divine swim bait head. Like, this is on a 5.8 inch Kitech. You could rig it on this guy too. And wha-bam, there you got it. There are a bunch of larger exposed jig heads that you can use like that. But anything that's got like a 6/0 hook in it would work. So yeah, mag draft freestyle is an awesome bait. And those are the two that I really wanted to mention after wrapping up the stream. So I'm sorry that I took so damn long, nearly 2 hours, to talk about what was in this freaking box. And I could have just told you walking baits, poppers, lipless crankbaits, square bills, and shallow diving crankbaits and jerk baits. And you're good to go. I also throw chatterbaits and swim baits, and we're good. could have done it in 30 seconds, and yet I took 2 hours. So appreciate you guys hanging out for a while tonight. It's been fun as always. I appreciate the support. We bumped up over 3,000 subscribers in the last week or two, and that's awesome. So thank you guys for your support and for hanging out tonight. It's fun as always. This is a happy place for me to be able to just kind of talk baits, look at baits, think about and talk about fishing, and to have people that want to join me to do so is awesome. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great rest of your Saturday night. Enjoy your Sunday tomorrow, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Next week is going to be a little bit different for me. My daughter has surgery on Friday. My wife is not working Friday night. Saturday night she is though, and there is a reasonable chance that I will work then or stream then. So uh it might be until next Saturday that you see me. But my wife is going out to dinner with some friends on Monday in 2 days from now. And you never know. I might just show up randomly. So make sure you have those notifications turned on. Um, and if I know that I'm going to be going live, I will try to give you a little bit of a heads up through the community tab. But I'll see you guys again in the next one. Okay. Cheers.